Good afternoon, traders. My name is AJ. I'm one of the moderators here at Awesomecallstrading.com. This afternoon, I would like to go over a recap of a few trades that we did in this great chat room. Awesome Calls Trading is known for, all types of trading from small cap, large cap, mid cap, options, calls, puts. We trade bios, pig plays, penny stocks, wherever the action is, we're on it. The room consists of about over 10 great moderators from all over the world. And then our option room is run by Levi and Christian on the option side. So this is the equity side of the trading. However, I have a lot of option traders also in here that will pick up these great ideas and thoughts in the morning and also play calls or puts on it. So I'd like to go over a few trades that we did today and how quickly you could make money. Every morning in Awesome Calls, what I do is I do these pre-market notes that I don't know if you can see them, but they're right here. And I do about 12 different ideas in the morning. And what I do is I'm usually up around 4 o'clock in the morning, every morning. I'm on the West Coast in LA. The Beverly Hills area. So I am up at 4 a.m. and I spend a good solid 90 minutes of research, reading, finding out good plays, reading earnings reports, PR, bios, anything that's gapped up a stock substantially, I'm all over it. And the wider the range, the better the trade for us, because as traders come in throughout the day, we really focus on trying to give them points. We really emphasize points. 50 cents to $1 is really what our specialty is, to help traders make more than $2, $3, $4 on a move. But we always educate a trader to hit a base hit, and if you can get 50 cents to $1, take your money and run. And let me go over a few ideas that we traded today, and I'll put it in notes, and let us start with a great trade we called MELI this morning. MELI was gapping up on some particular Brazilian news and so forth, and it was gapping up to 348 and from 335. So the call in the room at the time was, and I'll show you, pre-market. Stock was sitting right. This is where it closed the previous day, and this is where it was gapping up. Now, this is our specialty in Awesome Calls Trading. This is what we do. So what I like to do is I tell traders and subscribers in the room, I would scale in short, and I would let them know in pre-market and on the mic and at the open. I tell them on this particular trade, I was very clear in the notes. Take some short at 348, have room to add to 350 in case it pops over this 349 in pre-market. If you have a 349 average, the stock should come down and gap fill to at least 340 and under. The stock ended up, so in other words, if you have a small account, you can only trade 50 shares, you would only need $15,000 buying power. If you had 100 shares, you would need about $35,000 buying power. If you had that and you took this particular trade, in less than 2 minutes of the opening bell, you would have scored about 8 points, actually 10 points on the trade. So a 10-point trade with 25 shares is 250, 50 shares is 500, and 100 shares is $1,000 in a matter of, it looks like about 4 minutes of the open. So what I try to do too is show you, if you cannot short the stock, or you're afraid, or you don't know how to short, then I want you to at least go long at 340, give it room to add on any pullback, have a 338 average, and the stock should rip right back up to the highs. So it was either you could short it, or you can go long, or you can do both. Okay, and that trade worked out just perfectly. Again, a lot of traders don't trade this type of stock because they're afraid of it. They don't understand it. In Awesome Calls Trading, and what made me decide to make this kind of move on this stock? I get asked a lot. Well, what made you want to trade the 20 points? Well, first of all, I like the gap up. Then I evaluate and I go to my scan to see why it's up. Then I also determine there's no analyst calling any type of call on it. So therefore, and the fact that it's up very thin. And what I mean by thin, I mean you're only up here 100 shares. You can look here, 200 shares, and you're up here 200 shares, 200 shares, 200 shares, 200 shares. Well, I have thousands of shares here, and I have a lot of profit taking that's going to probably go on at the open. And this 2,000 shares in pre-market is not going to be enough to sustain this. So I figure it would sell off. These investors will want to cash out on this gap up. It's not often they can wake up to a 10-point gap up. And I was looking for that sell-off, and I nailed it just perfectly. The next trade that we had was Netflix. This is another nice trade that we did this morning in the equity side of the room. And Netflix market was sort of red in the morning, so the stock was actually gapping down. And then as the pre-market is continued to sell off. So at the open, I mentioned to traders that I felt the stock would probably pull to 340. And if you look at my notes on Netflix, I did make a point that the stock should pull to about 340 at the open. Now, if it did pull to 340 at the open, then the stock would turn around and probably push and get about 5 to 7 points. Anytime Netflix does a drastic pull, shorts like to come in and cover their positions, and I anticipate that move when I'm trading the stock. So what I do is I range the stock and I say, okay, watch for a pull at open because it's already gapped down 2 to 3 points. This particular trade, it actually gapped down 4 this morning, so I figured it could pull another 4 more, but then I felt very strongly that shorts will come in to cover, and they'll probably pop it right back to the 350 or 350, 348 range. So that was the call that the stock would probably push back to 348 or more. Okay, and so ding, 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 the stock opens. There's the pull to 340. Now, again, when you're trading in this room, it's all about scaling in so you don't choke the trade, which means you don't get in too much, too size, too big, too early. You just simply look for a nice entry at 340. If your size is normally you like to take half position, then you would start in with an eighth or a quarter or a third. And then any pull that comes additional, give it room as long as it's within that range. If you start at 340, then you obviously want to give it room to 338, 335, and just don't be afraid of the stock. Let it build itself because it will rebound. Shorts will come and cover from Friday afternoon. They'll cover first thing on the Monday. So I was looking for a nice 340, added 338, 339 average, and like clockwork, the stock ran all the way back up to 350. Now we're at a topping here around 350, so we kind of want to watch the market. As the market starts to turn red, we want to short the stock and bring it back down to where it was before at 340. Once those levels hit again, you can add on weakness and then go long again. As you can see, the stock bounced again. Playing a stock like Netflix and Awesomecalls trading is all about following a trend line, looking at where the stock should be able to, grind itself, find a bottom, and in these cases, we really like to watch where it levels off, and then add on weakness, and then when it bounces, we like to take that money and run. So right now, I've made a call into the room. 340 was the long spot. Stock all the way up to 348. Also, MELI is a current stock we're trading in the room off of the $330 mark, and the stock is now 336. So just these two trades alone that are rebounding off of intraday, I mean, these are 12 points. And these are the kind of trades that this room is really designed to do. We love the range. These are two perfect examples of why we find these stocks in the morning. The next stock is called IGC. IGC typically when it gaps up likes to push out of the gate. And so I have a lot of, not only I have a ton of short sellers in the room that love to short these type of plays, but I also have a lot of small cap traders in here with small accounts that want to lick quick money, but just want to know where stock's going to go so they can get in and out and be done. A trade like this is especially when I look at the stock, I can kind of range and tell you where the stock's going to do. So what we have here is we got a stock that basically closed at 422 on Friday and gapped up all the way to 490. So that 50 cents caught my attention. That 70 cents, 50 cents, anything over 50 cents on something like this has got my attention. So that tells me that all these short sellers in here that were shorting on Friday are going to kind of get squeezed right at the open. And so what I do is I anticipate a nice move into the open and then a sell-off to follow. Because IGC typically will not hold when it pops. It doesn't hold. It usually will, profit taking will kick in. But before that even happens, I have to anticipate the stock to make a pretty amazing move right at the open because it's going to squeeze the short sellers out. So if you look at my pre-market notes on IGC, it says here, I believe the stock will hit 540 to 575 at the open, per my pre-market notes. Once it hits that, watch for topping, and shred it right back down. And in my opinion, I felt the stock would hit 440 or under on a bottom curl. Okay, so let's take the bell rings. And most of our traders are in the room, are already pre-market or already in it long. I also give guidance that once the stock hits, I think it was $5 or $5.10, breaks through this flag at 520, the stock will run. And I was guiding it to 540 was the first spot, and then 575 was the second spot. Stock ended up going around 590 on a parabolic move, and then ended up selling back off down to $4.76. So my ideal goal would have been 440, which is about this area here, but it turned around and just went right back up. So it was very good for the long and the short side of the stock. And the reason why I anticipated that, again, I felt the short sellers would come in and squeeze the stock at the open, which they did. So they did exactly what I thought. And then I thought once it topped off, that it would just kind of just sell right back down. And that's exactly what it did verbatim. The next stock that I liked that caught my eye was PBR. Now we all know the Brazilian markets are up, new elections, and gas is up and so forth. PBR caught two upgrades this morning. One from Bank of America at $20, and JP Morgan also instituted a upgrade to 17. So the stock told me that the stock should settle around $17 a share. And with that being said, it was already up 16. So now one thing about PBR is you got a lot of back holders down here that are holding millions upon millions of shares, thousands upon thousands of shares. And the first thing on a gap up on PBR is they're going to want to cash out their positions at the open. This is not so much about a short squeeze as it is profit taking. And to me, profit taking will probably kick in and drive the stock back down. Now, my pre-market notes were pretty clear on PBR. I would take some short at the open. Actually, in pre-market, I was suggesting to take some short, and then have it room to 1625. And I really pretty much made that clear. It was my item number 4. Take some short at 16 level. Give it room to 1625 just in case the short squeezed it. And look for a nice slow fade down to 1475 and under. So the stock ended up probably doing right about here, and it came to about 1504. I have a question in chat just now. So AJ, I'm short PY 100 shares at 38. I'm below. Don't close this tomorrow. No, you got to be careful. Yeah, no, I would probably take that 400 and run. Yeah, I would have taken that 34 spot because Citron, when he announced he was long, that was where the spot where it was perfectly. Yeah, so I would 34, and then we ran it to 38. It's consolidating. I think over the next few days it probably goes higher. So I would probably have taken my $400. Just been happy with that, Andreas. Okay. So in this case, it worked out just perfectly. However, I did want a little bit more. It hit 1504, 1505, so I was kind of missing it by about 30 cents. But the idea was to short this play with size and take it down. Okay, let's go over another one that caught my eye this morning. This one was CLDC, another small cap type trade. And this one was, they were doing strategic meetings on this stock and maybe thinking of selling or doing something. Well, whenever you have a stock that's a penny stock, $80, a dollar or less, and you get a kind of move like this in pre-market, chances are you have to go back at least 20 days and you could see just bag holder city, just a bunch of bag holders. So one, you've got bag holders that are going to want to dump, okay? But more importantly, you got a lot of short sellers in here that are shorting this in hopes the stock will drop down to 50 cents, 40 cents, and they've been holding for quite a long time. You can take this stock and go all the way down to, let's go 6 months out, and we can just kind of watch this thing all the way out here. Since August, you can see they were holding at $1. And we're talking millions upon millions and millions of shares. So we got a lot of short sellers in here as well. So what I felt, based on the news today, I wasn't overwhelmed with it, but I did feel the stock, after making almost 100% move, the stock had still more in it before it calmed down. So what I was looking for was IGC. This is CLDS. Said it should fade. Okay, so here's item number 2 in the room. And so what I felt the stock would probably do was pop. Now remember, this is in pre-market. I'm writing these notes. So when I'm writing this note, the stock was already sitting at 160, 170. So I am letting traders know that I see the stock going to at least pop to 2 to 225 right at the open, if not more so. Once it pops, lower lows will set in. And the only reason why it's popping is because shorts are squeezing it. Plus, you have to anticipate a certain amount of chat rooms will be pushing the stock to the upside for quick money as well. A lot of these small cap pumper stocks, like I won't name names, there's no reason to, but they're all out there and they like to chase stocks like this. And because it's our number 2 on our list and I have it pushing to 225, a lot of chat rooms tend to come in here, read the notes, and then share the notes to their people in their chat rooms and then take all the credit for the move. So in this case, those that played it, if you saw it, stock did move through 2, then 225, and then it topped off around 275 and came all the way down. Now I wanted this to fade. I anticipated at least a fade to 120. It sort of stopped at 150 for whatever reason. I do think there's an offering coming. I think this whole ideal move is to get volume out behind it and then take some sort of money out of it. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does close at the 110 range and just kind of dump off. I just don't see this holding at all, this move. So we'll see how it plays out for the rest of the day. One more stock I'd like to go over, iRobot, IRBT. Now, IRBT was a very special stock this morning. I caught it. It was an analyst call this morning to neutral. What caught my eye was the way they downgraded this stock. They didn't really change the price, and I'll show you. I found this on my scan, and when I have a scan, I have it through, I look through my scan here that you can see. I read through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of analyst reports, and I read all of this for the great subscribers in the room. And what I do is I handpick ones that really stand out for me. Well, this one particularly stood out because it was one gapping down over 2 points. When iRobot gaps down 1 to 2 points, 2 points or more, I'm kind of thinking, I want to know why. So the first question is, why are you gapping down? Well, as I come down to look, I see iRobot is gapping down because it went from an overweight to a neutral. Okay? An overweight to a neutral. And when I see that, that's a pretty significant downgrade. So And you can see the red arrow, and it's Piper. Now, Piper's a tier 2, tier 3 firm, so they're not a B of A or a Citi, but there are going to be enough for me to take notice what they're doing. If you notice, they also made a comment, they are unchanging the price to 90. Okay, so what you've got is got a $106 stock that has a price target of 90 from underwriter, an analyst over there. But the stock hasn't done anything he wanted. It hasn't dropped. It just moves up. But to me, it's significant when he downgrades from overweight to neutral. And I'm getting a gap down. That tells me I can get a pull in the stock. Now the pull in the stock is going to definitely give me 100 to under. And as it started pulling, I felt the stock would probably hit 95 and then bounce and then stay above that. So initially, the call on IRBT for all you new traders was 100 and under. I suggested to take the stock short at 104. And as you can see here, that's what I was looking for. And then scale in short, at least take it to 100. And then on top of that, if you can get an extra 5 points, and that's where I really saw the 95. Once I saw it get through this 100 mark, right at the pre-market. Now, in pre-market, at the open, again, in pre-market, I was saying go short around the 104 area if you can get some. Have room to add. Don't be scared if it pops to 105. Don't be scared. It can fill some of this gap, at least halfway, and then look for that pull. I'm looking for 100 and then yank it. And then the stock ended up hitting, once it hit 95, I was suggesting to the chat room live, go bounce it at 95. And it bounced perfectly 2 points each time. This is 2 points. This is 3 points. It was just a really nice trade. And normally I don't announce neutral calls, but because this was, to me, significant, I felt very strong that this would have a nice move to the downside, especially on a weak tape with the market. And I like this. Now, I'm going to do one more on a flip side to a neutral call. I want you to take a look at this NVO. I've been playing this for the last couple days. Well, this morning, Bank of America decided to do a neutral call, but did not change the price target, just knocked it to neutral. Well, what caught my attention was this massive gap down between 44 and 42.46. That's $1.50 to me. So in my eyes, the minute I saw this, I felt the stock would probably move back up halfway to the gap and then probably sell off. So I wouldn't short the stock until it reached halfway to where it was on Friday to this gap. So my anticipation was the stock would hit 43.25 or more, and then I would short the stock. But I wouldn't short the stock until it does that first. So this item was, I believe, number 6 on the stock. And the reason why I felt that, and again, the why would you go long when the stock is gapping down and Bank of America has a neutral? Well, simply the fact that they did not issue a new price target on it, plus it's a neutral call. So if it was a sell call, the stock would have probably pulled 1 to 2 at the open and bounced off 40. But because it was a neutral call with no price target given, I felt very strongly that the stock would actually go rebound and go to 43.25. And the stock is now 43.13. So what I did, let the traders know that if you went long at the open, have room to add to 41.50, and you would have a nice average of 42. Don't be worried. The stock will rebound back to 43.25. And when it does, then you can reshort the stock. But my idea was probably to long the stock. So, and so far within 10 cents, 9 cents of 12 cents of what we're looking for. So Philip just let me know that he bought the square calls. Traders, new subscribers potentially to the room. I do a lot of intraday trading. This room does not stop. That's one of the things and there's a couple of things that we do also in this room. We don't have noise in the room. So there's we have about probably 530 traders. And so nobody really, there's no communicating unless the mods communicate. The mods are colored. And as they come in, they give their ideas. The room is designed for an alert. And I'm usually on the mic pretty much 60% of the time. The great Levi will come in, great Janny will come in, and Eric will come in once in a while. And they'll take over the mic when I rest my brain a little bit, because I have to rest my brain to keep the energy level up and the focus up. And all I'm doing all day long is just looking for ideas for a trader to capitalize, because we have traders that don't trade in the morning, they trade in the afternoon. We have a tremendous amount of part-time traders. And so a call that was asked me to look at, and I'll look at a stock and I'll just kind of look at it. And this particular stock, Square, came to my attention, and somebody asked me off the bottom where I felt Square would go. I liked this 84. It came down over 10 points. So I said, you know what? I would long this 84. Room to 82 in case the market yanks some more. Have an 83 average. The stock should rebound to $87 a share. And if you come over here, you can see that a client, Philip Granville, who's returning client to our great room, just made $200 on that trade alone. And of course, the option traders as well bought the 88 calls, and the stock was around 87 almost, and just a little bit more to go, and it should rebound. Market is in rebound mode, so after I finish this recording, we're going to continue playing Netflix. We're bouncing it to 350, and MELI should also go to 340. So we're actually playing a nice 10-point move off the bottom. MELI, just so you know, in this room, the reason why I like to stay with these calls all day is because they give us such range. So I just kind of want you to add this, okay? We got 12 points at the open on the short, right? We got 12 to 14 on the pop back up. So now you have 26 points. Then the stock collapsed and gave us back down to 328. So there's another 25 more points to the downside. And then we'll pop another 10 points. So you see, traders and potential subscribers, you see what I'm doing here? I'm finding new stocks that give substantial range where you can make substantial money even with smaller size. This stock will end up doing probably a 40-point trade by the time it's all done. Yes, you can do Amazon and trade it down 40, 50 points when the market's pulling, but you know, I like to find these stocks like a Netflix where I can anticipate exactly where I feel like the stock is going to bounce. Again, here's the 340 level. If you just followed the 340 level all morning and you went long, each time those bounce at 340, you're already up 9 points. Most rooms like to trade only a few cents. In here, this is not what we do. Okay? We don't need to take huge size. We just take the stock and we make our money. Okay? All right, that is today's recording, and I want to thank you all for joining. I'm glad you listened. I hope that you found and learned a few things, and I really enjoyed today. So pre-market had the opportunity to make you thousands, if not hundreds, if not thousands of dollars this morning, and now I will need to continue on with the room and help the great subscribers in here continue to make money. Hope to see you and hope to trade with you tomorrow. Thank you.